All right, let's dive in. You ready? Today, it's Tupac Shakur.
I am definitely ready.
I am so excited for this one.
Me too. He's fascinating.
I know, and we've got so much to unpack, and we've got biographical stuff, we've got his career milestones, we've got tons of analyses of his work.
Yeah.
And I think what we want to do today is figure out, what made him so important, not just in the world of music, but in the world at large.
Right. And he's so much more than just a rapper. You know what I mean? He was an artist, a poet,
Hmm.
and an activist. And it's amazing how even now his voice still resonates with so many people.
Absolutely. So, okay, rewind back to the beginning. Tupac Amaru Shakur, born 1971 in Harlem. His parents, they were Black Panther Party members. That's a pretty intense start to life.
It is, and there's no doubt that his upbringing had a massive impact on his art. Just imagine, being exposed to that level of social consciousness at such a young age. It's no surprise that his lyrics often reflected the Black Panthers' ideals, especially, that fight against systemic injustice and police brutality.
Yeah, he wasn't just talking about it, he was living it.
Right.
And then think about all the moves, New York to Baltimore, eventually landing in Oakland and Marin City. You could literally hear all of those diverse environments in his music.
Oh, absolutely. You can definitely see how those different locations kind of shaped his sound. It's the East Coast grit, the West Coast swagger. He absorbed it all
Yeah.
and then created something totally unique. It's also really interesting, though, to think about how the Black Panthers, like their emphasis on community activism, how that might have influenced his approach to music.
Totally. It wasn't just about entertainment, it was about making a statement. So, okay, let's talk about the early days of his career. So we have Strictly Dope,
Yeah.
and then that pivotal moment when he joined Digital Underground.
Well, that was huge for him. That collaboration gave him exposure and it helped him develop his skill. Remember, Same Song in 91? That was his breakout moment. People got to see his talent and energy, and it was just raw.
It was, and then bam, Tupacalypse Now. Talk about making a statement. You think about those songs like Trapped and Brenda's Got a Baby. Those weren't just songs, they were commentaries. They tackled like head on these really heavy issues, poverty, police brutality, teen pregnancy.
Yeah.
What strikes you about that debut album?
The rawness. Like, he was just so honest. He wasn't trying to sugarcoat anything.
Right.
He was bringing these hard-hitting social issues to the forefront, forcing people to confront some really uncomfortable realities.
Yeah.
And he did it all with such incredible lyrical dexterity. Like the storytelling, the metaphors, it was just captivating.
He could paint such vivid pictures with his words. And then he followed up with Strictly for My Niggaz, another hit. I get around with Digital Underground that was blowing up the charts. He was on fire.
Absolutely.
And then we get to Me Against the World. And I feel like this is where things get really interesting.
This album, he released it while he was in prison, and it's often considered like his most personal, most introspective work. You can really hear the vulnerability, the pain, the reflection in the lyrics. It's a true testament to his artistic growth and his ability to channel his experiences into something that was so deeply affecting.
It's incredible to think that while he was incarcerated, he achieved such success, both critically and commercially, with this album. It topped the charts. It even earned a Grammy nomination. But then things take another turn with Death Row Records, right? We have Suge Knight posting his bail and Tupac joining the label. That was a definite turning point, would you say?
A controversial one, too.
Okay.
Because this move, it really signaled a shift both in his sound and his image. It was a move towards this, harder, more West Coast gangster rap style, and with it, a more aggressive persona.
And then, bam, double album, All Eyes on Me.
Yes.
And, this thing explodes on the scene. California Love, two of America's Most Wanted. How do you want it?
Iconic.
The album goes diamond. He solidifies his status as, a rap superstar. You could feel the entire energy of hip-hop shifting.
Oh, absolutely. He was right at the forefront of that West Coast sound, and his influence, it was undeniable. But this era also saw the rise of, the East Coast-West Coast feud, a very dark chapter in hip-hop history.
Yeah.
And Tupac, unfortunately, became a central figure in this rivalry. In his music, it began to reflect this growing tension.
And those diss tracks, hit 'em up, aimed at, people like Puff Daddy and Biggie.
Intense.
What was the context behind all of this? Was this just personal beef, or was there something deeper going on?
It was definitely more than just personal disagreements.
Yeah.
There were these deeper societal issues at play. You had these regional rivalries fueled by media hype,
Right.
record label politics, and even the commercialization of hip-hop itself. And all of these factors, along with pre-existing social and economic disparities, they all contributed to this escalation of tension.
It's a complicated story and honestly a really sad one. But let's shift gears for a moment,
Yeah.
okay? Let's talk about Tupac's legacy. Because even though his life was tragically cut short in 1996, his influence, I mean, it's still felt so strongly today. How do you see his impact extending beyond music?
Tupac's legacy, I think it's multifaceted. His
Yeah.
music continues to inspire, continues to resonate with audiences across generations,
Mm-hmm.
and he tackled these really important social and political issues that unfortunately are still relevant today.
Right.
Making him a voice for the marginalized, the disenfranchised. He influenced fashion, he influenced language, he even influenced political discourse.
He was only 25 when he died. It's hard to grasp how much he accomplished in such a short time. But we can't ignore the posthumous releases. The Machiavelli album, that thing topped the charts. It achieved triple platinum status. Afeni Shakur, his mother, she played such a key role in managing his unreleased music and really making sure that his voice continued to be heard.
Oh, her dedication was crucial. It was absolutely crucial in preserving and expanding his legacy. And that legacy includes over 75 million albums sold worldwide, which makes him one of the best-selling artists of all time. And then you add to that the Rock and Roll Hall of Fame induction, the star on the Hollywood Walk of Fame, a street in Oakland renamed Tupac Shakur Way. His impact is undeniable.
I mean, it's incredible to be recognized in so many ways after such a short life. But you know what I find most fascinating is his ability to connect with people on such a deep level.
It was his authenticity. He wasn't afraid to be vulnerable. He wasn't afraid to show his flaws.
Right.
He was raw, he was honest, he was passionate, and that resonated with people. He was a complex figure, and his music, it reflected that complexity.
He was a walking contradiction in some ways, but it never felt fake.
No.
And that's, I think, what makes him so compelling, even today. He was a rapper, he was a poet, he was an activist, he was an icon. He was Tupac Shakur.
And his story continues to fascinate, and it continues to provoke discussion. There's still so much to uncover, so much to understand about the man behind the music.
You know, it's interesting. We were just talking about his impact beyond music.
Yeah, he wasn't just making hits. He was sparking these conversations
Right.
about stuff that really mattered.
Yeah, yeah.
Like, think about a song like Brenda's Got a Baby, or even Dear Mama. He's tackling these social issues, these personal struggles head on.
Exactly. He was addressing things like poverty, police brutality, systemic racism, issues that are sadly still so relevant today.
It's crazy.
He gave a voice to those who felt marginalized and ignored. And I think that's a really powerful legacy.
And it wasn't just the lyrics. He was involved in activism, too. He was very vocal about his beliefs, and he was involved with organizations that were really trying to make a difference.
He didn't just talk the talk. He
Right.
walked the walk.
Yeah.
His involvement in these community initiatives, especially those focused on empowering youth, combating social injustice, it really demonstrated his commitment to making a change. It's like his music was an extension of his activism and vice versa.
Yeah.
They were intertwined. They were both driven
Yeah.
by this deep passion for change.
Absolutely. He understood the power of his platform, and he used it to amplify the voices of the oppressed. And, it wasn't just confined to music. Think about his acting career.
Oh, yeah.
Films like Juice and Poetic Justice. They showcased a different side of him, his versatility.
Juice, I mean, that movie.
Yeah.
Amazing. I remember being blown away by his performance.
He had this charisma. It was magnetic, and he brought such depth and intensity to his roles. He wasn't afraid to explore these complex characters and tackle these difficult themes.
Yeah.
His roles often reflected the realities of Black life in America, highlighting social issues, challenging stereotypes.
And then there's the poetry,
Oh, yes.
a whole other dimension
Right.
to his artistry. I feel like that often gets overlooked,
Yeah.
but it's such a crucial part of understanding him.
His poetry is so insightful. It gives us this window into his soul, kind of beyond just the persona of the rapper.
It's like you get to see the man behind the music. It's all right there in the poems.
It humanizes him,
Yeah.
revealing his complexities, his contradictions, the depth of his intellectual and emotional range.
Yeah.
It's a reminder that he was more than just a rapper. He was this multifaceted artist with this really profound message.
Yeah.
His work across all these mediums explored themes of love, loss, social injustice, the search for identity.
Right.
These are themes that resonate with people from all walks of life.
Yeah. And it's like he was constantly pushing these boundaries. challenging expectations, using every platform he could to make his voice heard.
Absolutely. And his legacy, though tragically cut short, has had a profound impact on music, culture, social activism. His words and his image are still used today as these symbols of resistance and empowerment, inspiring generations to fight for justice and equality.
I mean, it's incredible to see how that influence just continues to ripple through society.
It really is.
But what if he hadn't died so young?
Yeah.
What if he'd been given more time to really develop his art, his activism, his vision?
It's a question that haunts me.
Yeah.
What music would he have created?
Yeah.
What movements would he have spearheaded? The possibilities are endless, and they're heartbreaking to even contemplate.
I know.
He had so much potential, so much more to offer.
It's hard to fathom what he could have achieved with more time.
It is.
But even in that short life, he left behind this legacy that few can match.
Absolutely. His impact on fashion, language, even political discourse is undeniable.
It really is.
His words and image continue to inspire artists, activists, thinkers around the world.
He was a force to be reckoned with, and his legacy, it will continue to inspire and provoke for generations to come.
He made mistakes and he struggled with his own demons.
He was often portrayed as a very controversial figure.
Yeah.
And he definitely had his share of conflicts and legal troubles.
He did.
Yeah.
And it's easy to focus on the controversies,
Right.
the feuds, the tragic ending,
Yeah.
but we have to remember the context, the systemic issues, the societal pressures that shaped his life.
I think it's important to acknowledge his flaws, to have an honest conversation, but it's equally important to celebrate his contributions.
Absolutely.
His artistry, his passion.
He was a human being,
Yes.
not a saint, and his story reflects the complexities of life.
It's a reminder that even in the face of adversity, we can use our voices to make a difference.
Absolutely.
And that's a powerful legacy.
It's a legacy that continues to inspire and challenge us to think critically about the world around us.
So much more to uncover, so much more to discuss. It's crazy, thinking about his life and his career, what always strikes me is that drive, that relentless drive.
Yeah.
He got so much done in such a short time. It's almost like he knew,
Right.
that he had a limited time to really make his mark on the world.
There's definitely this sense of urgency in his work.
Yeah.
Like he really wanted to say everything he needed to say
Yeah.
to make every moment count.
It's like he was burning so bright,
Yeah.
but for such a short time.
He was both the tough guy and the sensitive artist, and that, I think, made him relatable to so many people.
Totally, yeah.
He didn't shy away from the complexities of life, his own or
It
society.
was like a walking contradiction in some ways.
Yeah.
And yet it all felt so genuine. It wasn't a
Yeah.
persona. It was just him.
His ability to, command attention,
Yes.
to make people listen.
It's undeniable.
He had a presence on stage and off that was just undeniable.
Yeah.
He was a natural storyteller, and he used that platform to give a voice to the voiceless, to challenge the status quo.
So as we wrap up this deep dive into the world of Tupac Shakur, what are the key takeaways?
Okay.
What can we learn from his life and legacy?
I think the biggest takeaway is to, appreciate the complexity of his story. He wasn't perfect. He made mistakes, but he was a powerful force for change.
Yeah.
His life was really a testament to the human capacity for good and bad, for growth and struggle, for triumph and tragedy.
Engage with his music.
Yes.
Explore those interviews. Read his poetry.
Yeah.
Go beyond the headlines. Go beyond the controversy. And you'll find this complex, passionate, ultimately tragic figure who left this, this mark on the world that is just indelible.
And maybe, just maybe, his story will inspire you to use your own voice, your own talents, to make a difference, no matter how big or small.
That's a powerful thought to leave us with.
It is.
Thanks for joining us on this deep dive into the life and legacy of Tupac Shakur. Until next time, keep exploring, keep questioning, and keep diving deep